We're very grateful to have tonight from China calling in late as well to learn more about China's governance approaches. Professor Yi Zeng, to be introduced by our moderator, Sam Curtis, Associate AI Governance at the Future Society, for our fireside chat on the path to generative AI regulation in China. Thanks, Sam.
Hi, Professor Zeng.
Hello.
So Professor Zeng has many titles, including Professor and Director of the Brain-Inspired Cognitive Intelligence Lab and International Research Center for AI Ethics and Governance at the Institute of Automation at the Chinese Academy of Sciences. He was also recently appointed a member of the United Nations High-Level Advisory Body on AI, and he's also the founding director of both the AI for SDGs Cooperation Network and the Center for Long-Term AI. But in addition to those, for me, he has two more titles. First, graduate school advisor and friend. I was really fortunate about 4 years ago. I attended a panel while I was studying at Schwarzman College at Tsinghua University in China. I was attending a panel that had Professor Zeng in it. I felt that he had a really clear and sincere view on the societal impacts of AI, and I asked him to be my graduate school advisor. He graciously accepted, and the rest was history. We last saw each other, I believe it was January 2020, in his office just a few blocks away from the university. January 2020, we were talking about my research project. I was going to focus on the use of facial recognition technology in China. We soon afterwards saw COVID, and we quickly pivoted to focus on the use of facial recognition technology in public health response in China. And for me, that was really an illuminating project to be able to see what the societal expectations are of AI systems in China. And I think we should start there. There's a lot to talk about in this short period about what's happened in the past year in terms of regulation in China. But I think, as this is the first time that we've had a session on China at the Athens Roundtable, I think it would be helpful to start out with a bit of context. So, Professor Zeng, it's amazing to see you. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your perspective or some of your observations on the differences in societal expectations of AI systems in China and in the US or in the greater West, or whatever framing you'd prefer.
Thank you, Samuel. It's great to having you actually to chair the session. So I think the beauty for the global AI governance is that maybe we see AI in different roles actually worldwide. I would say that in most of the efforts in the West, we see AI as a tool that assists a human. Well, on the other side, if you go to a more Orient perspective, like in Japan mostly, and now of course also in China and Korea, that people may also see AI, especially for the long-term AI, as partners or quasi-members of the society, where there are more elderlies, and then they expect that AI could do the assistance job, and also to provide what we mean by quasi-members, and what we expect for partners. That's definitely not only tools. On the other side, if you go to the sci-fi's, of course, in many cases, it's enemies for human. So you have a triangle now. That is the tool view, the partners or quasi-members view, and also the enemies view. So in which way actually we're going for the long term, both the near term and the long term AI, and the way that you develop AI, it's actually very diverse. It should be very diverse. But my observation would be that no matter which view you're taking for globally, you only have one way to develop AI now that mostly everybody was actually following what the deep neural nets was doing. But I just don't feel that a extension of deep learning will eventually go for quasi members and partners. That I don't believe. So, yeah.
Thanks. I wanted to talk a bit about the Brussels effect. We had a panel yesterday on talking about transatlantic coordination between the U.S. and the EU. So one policy instrument that those from the European Union are particularly proud of is the so-called Brussels effect, whereby regulations or standards set in the EU have an international impact in terms of streamlining compliance. Many right now are hoping that the EU AI Act will have a similar effect in setting some globally robust framework that guides AI development and deployment globally. One thing that's been left out of this conversation a bit is just the trends in development of regulation in China. Over just the past 2 years, China's enacted some of the world's earliest and some of the most stringent regulation targeting AI systems. It has strategically focused on a few distinct applications. So it focuses on recommendation systems and generative AI. And it has introduced these targeted regulations just to address these specific areas of concern. So first I was wondering, Yi, could you talk a bit about your thoughts on the effectiveness of this strategy? And I'm wondering if you might foresee any sort of possibility of a quote-unquote Beijing effect, whereby some of China's application-focused regulations might have an influence on other nations.
Thank you. I think I don't see that the different trines globally would compete with each other. I just see that some of the trines, beforehand is really critical and provide insights to the following trines. I would say that like the EU AI Act is a more umbrella law that actually starting in a horizontal way. Well, the Chinese trying like the algorithmic recommendation, deep synthesis, and also the most recently generative AI one is really a vertical, laws. So I would say vertical laws is more to the point. Well, the umbrella and more horizontal tryings on the AI Act is really necessary in the long run. So I would say for the Chinese trying, now we are actually starting for more umbrella law for AI. It could be like China AI law or China AI basic law. No idea for now, but I think these two approaches just complemented with each other in such a nice way. So I think that's really important. Well, on the other side, like I said, for the first tryings, you provide more opportunities for people to discuss. I would say, like the general data protection laws that in EU, actually, you have the data erasure, the rights to forget. Actually, it will be very hard for AI to follow that, given the fact that it's, of course, policy-wise is very beautiful and people need that. But for AI technology, now it's really hard to erase the specific user's data just from a AI engine or AI model once it has been trained. Unless you retrain the AI model, otherwise it will be very hard to do the machine learning problem for each specific users on the fly. So you see that although we need them, it has been talked in GDPR. It seems it's not really technically possible to be grounded into reality. And this is all true for everyone. And for the personal information protection laws in China, we also have similar statements. But now actually it's technically not very possible to do it. So the common challenge is for everyone, and we have to learn a lesson from that. And just go back to your topic that when you were Schwarzman scholar, that you remember that when you wanted to do facial recognition in China, it's really the pandemic time, and we have a discussion. How about we just focus on facial recognition in healthcare to be more specific and to the point, and see really the on the fly period of facial recognition applications in China, so that we can learn the lessons from, and that's also vertical trying. So I would say I wouldn't call it a Beijing effect. I would say it's really complementary with each other in a way that the to the point one is that both EU and US needs that, but for the horizontal ones, I think China should catch up and learn from the EU AI Act. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think it is important to have some of these vertical regulations to buy us some time to figure out how we can more properly regulate these technologies.
Sure.
I also wanted to ask you about so China recently announced its plans to launch a global AI governance initiative with its aim of, and to quote, supporting efforts to develop global AI governance frameworks based on broad consensus and with respect for policies among countries. Sorry. You yourself, Professor Zeng, have also been very vocal about your support for greater international cooperation. I'd like to ask, overall, do you see China playing a leading role in global AI governance? And do you see any hope of cooperation with the US in this front?
Actually, I don't see the Chinese government would like to have a vision to lead the global AI governance. I think what the Chinese government says is that they welcome international consensus. Actually, they have also noticed the international consensus, like the UNESCO Global Recommendation on Ethics of AI, and also they welcome take UN take the lead to this global AI governance. So I think that's what the Chinese government said, and also leaving no one behind. That when we were call ourselves global, that you really have to go global, leaving no one behind. So I think that's the role of AI of China to participate in the global AI governance. There will be very different regional tryings, like the EU OECD ones, but also maybe you need some other regional networks that can actually self-coordinate it together or organized by let's say the UN trying, so that we are actually weaving a global network of AI governance. There will be no the node for global AI governance, I would say. So we're very different but interconnected, nodes. There could be pivotal nodes right there for regional networks, but truly that I feel that international organizations like the UN should take the lead for global AI governance coordination, complementing what we don't have in regional AI governance networks.
Well, yeah, thanks for that answer. It resonates with me, and I'm really glad that you're a part of the UN high-level advisory body now to lead some of those efforts. One final thing I wanted to ask you about. So I know that you, Professor Zeng, you and I both care quite a lot about international cooperation, and I want to make sure that we have more time to talk about that. Exactly 1 month ago, we had the UK AI Safety Summit, 1 month ago to the day. And at the summit, many countries, the US, EU, China, Singapore, many others, signed the Bletchley Declaration. And this affirmed the need for international cooperation to ensure AI is developed and used safely, responsibly, and for the benefit of all. And it also committed to extended dialogue. One other event that took place on that weekend was, and it received relatively less attention and coverage, was a joint statement that was signed by a number of Chinese, US, EU, and UK researchers, among others, that called for, the principal message was, coordinated global action on AI safety research and governance is critical to prevent uncontrolled frontier AI development from posing unacceptable risks to humanity. And I want to leave this pretty open to you. I want to hear if you wouldn't mind reflecting on some of these commitments made just 1 month ago, and perhaps on your own appointment to the UN high-level advisory body, and how can you see countries continuing to coordinate both on academic research in machine learning and also on risk mitigation from here on out?
Thank you. I think both both of the I participated for both of the efforts. The I would say the AI safety summit. Actually before the summit, there were been many discussions whether whether UK would invite China or not. Well, actually, one thing that I would like to share here is that issues like AI safety and risks, you don't only need, actually, you cannot really stop talking about this topic and reach a consensus with like-minded partners. Well, actually, it was very essential to talk to unlike-minded partners so that both sides on the same page for risk and the safety issues, so that it will be a lot safer for both sides. So I think that's a very different approaches, mainly compared to the current trying. And one message that I got actually from UK was definitely that they don't only want a like-minded conference. So I think that's why China was invited for both of the days, for the discussion, where actually I don't see any of the inconsistencies for the discussion related to risks and safety and the concerns right there. So I still remember that for the session that I chair on the risks from unexpected advances of AI. So this is, a kind of, a more long-term discussion, but there are many leaders like digital ministers and minister of trade right there from different countries, taking care of these long-term challenges, of course, together with academia. I would recommend that the AI Safety Summit could really extend the scope for the audience. That maybe now this year we have 28. Maybe next year, maybe we could have like 40. That would be great. Which I also mentioned during the closing of the AI Safety Summit by day one. So the next one that you've been talking about is actually called the Ditchley Declaration, compared to the Bletchley one. Actually, it was supported by Ditchley Foundation in the context of having more scientific discussion on those unpredicted risks from scholars. I would say that scientific scholars, we have a unique role to complement what we have in global AI governance. So not only that we should have a more balanced view, but also with a very interdisciplinary and thought-provoking ways to tackle the long-term risk right there. But those long-term risks of AI, maybe some of them, you cannot really find the solution within the next 30 years. But definitely within the next 30 to 50 years, maybe you will have artificial general intelligence or you will just have the more general AI tools that can create catastrophic risks for humanity. But can you really find the solution within these 30 years? Maybe not. So that is the real challenge. So by that, the academia should take a unique role. And also, I would like to argue that academia, we should actually solve problems for the world instead of creating problems for the world in a way that in many cases the AI development is kind of in some perspective is kind of a competition in different countries. And then I just saw some views like, oh, how about just poison their data so that they will not develop that fast. So the recommendation was actually from academia. And to me, I think it was really a shame and a pity that academia is contributing that way to the world. So by that, I think that is the value for, for the second trying that you mentioned, leaded by, the UC Berkeley from Stuart Russell and also Yusha Banjo, together with some of the Chinese scientists. I'm grateful to be involved. And that was actually a trying several weeks ago before the Bletchley meeting. So considering about the UN trying, I think I don't see myself to be a representative of China at all in the expert group, because we have like approximately 200 countries, and we only have more than 30 expert right there. If I'm representing China, so what about the others? So actually, none of the experts right there is representing their country. Actually, we're representing very diverse cultures, so that when you complement, the views and the cultures for the next wave of AI development globally, what voices has to be incorporated from a more, scientific contribution and also the industrial views. I think that's the role that we are taking. So I'm very grateful actually to be involved in these very diverse group. Actually, we have very different groups working in different topics, like risks, like the governance models. What we have from the culture side, from the gender side, biases, and also we have to work. Actually, I enjoy all the working group meetings every week, for at least twice every week. For the efforts, and by the end of this year, I think maybe we can just to deliver the first draft for consultation.
Well, I'm afraid we're out of time, but Professor Zeng, thank you so much for your time. I think everyone who's in person and online can just appreciate or can see why I wanted to approach you after that panel 4 years ago. I really appreciate your sincere and clear-headed approach to figuring out how we're going to have the world work together to respond to AI systems. So thanks so much for your time. I'll let you head to bed and to your family, and we'll hope to see you in person sometime soon.
Thank you so much. Let's hold hands together. Thank you. Bye.